today that reveals North Carolina traffic fatalities have surged 29% over the last decade, despite recent improvements. So joining us right now to discuss these findings and potential solutions is Rocky Moretti, a spokesperson for TRIP, as well as a co-author for today's report. Rocky, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me to talk about this.
Yeah, an important topic here because we talk traffic all the time and the roads and infrastructure, but TRIP, the National Transportation Research Nonprofit, found this surge in North Carolina higher than the national average of 20%, I believe. What is driving this trend?
Yeah, unfortunately, North Carolina and really the whole country is facing a traffic safety crisis. In North Carolina, we have seen a 29% increase in traffic fatalities over the last decade, from approximately 1,300 in 2014. Last year, it was 1,659. The bottom line is these numbers are utterly unacceptable. They have a huge impact on North Carolina, most critically, obviously, on people impacted. You know, these are terrible tragedies, and we are really calling this out to the public. It starts with the public, who need to do a better job of in terms of driving on the state's roads and bridges, but very critically also looking at steps that the state needs to take to make the system safer for everybody.
Yeah, the report shows fatalities have dropped slightly since 2021, but still well above 2014 levels. Are we heading in the right direction then, or is this just a temporary improvement?
Unfortunately, what we've seen across the country, and certainly in North Carolina, is that we had started to see an uptick in traffic fatalities around 2018 and 2019. And unfortunately, the COVID pandemic seemed to be a trigger for a significant reduction in driver behavior. And so over the last 5 years, we've seen a 22% increase in speeding-related traffic fatalities. We've also seen significant impact in distracted driving, and also in people in impaired driving. And so these are troubling trends. And, you know, for example, the actual rate when it's measured per 100 million miles of travel in North Carolina is up 15%. So it's not just because there's more travel, because the state is growing, certainly. It is, unfortunately, drivers are taking greater risks. And so we need to do a better job of educating the public on being more careful. And this also impacts pedestrian and bicyclists, which account for 17% of traffic fatalities in North Carolina. And so the real challenge in the transportation community is certainly to educate the public, to ramp up enforcement, because if people are going to speed and drive impaired, we need to make sure they suffer consequences, but then very critically take steps to make the system safer for motorists, pedestrian, and bicyclists.
What is making our roads so dangerous then for pedestrians and bicyclists?
Well, certainly we've seen also a significant increase in fatalities among pedestrian and bicyclists. To some extent, it reflects, I think, that we're perhaps healthier, more active, more people are walking and riding their bikes. So these are all very positive for people, for their health and quality of life. But we certainly, particularly in urban areas, need to make sure that when people are on their bikes, when they're walking places, that the infrastructure itself keeps them safe from vehicles.
I want to talk about the economic impacts, because it really trickles down to that as well. What are you talking about in costs and quality of life costs?
We point out in the report that the total annual cost in 2024 of serious and fatal traffic crashes in North Carolina was $72 billion. There's two components of that. The $18 billion costs are strictly economic costs, lost productivity. When people are obviously incapacitated or killed, that's going to impact the economy. It's also looking at healthcare costs, obviously significant consequences to serious injuries, and then also things as simple as traffic congestion when there's crashes. But then the other $54 billion are of life costs. Obviously, when a member of someone's family is killed, those emotional costs are devastating. And the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has created a formula to put a price tag on those quality of life costs. And so it's a reminder that the reality, the state's transportation system can be made safer really at a very cost-effective rate. And when you compare it to the $72 billion cost of those crashes, it's really a tremendous bargain to the state to make those investments in making the system safer.
So let's talk about solutions, the safe system approach, and the focus on some of the tiers between people and cars and speeds. Rocky.
The safe system approach developed by the U.S. Department of Transportation is very helpful for really thinking that through. It starts with the drivers driving at safe speeds, obeying traffic laws, safer vehicles. We are seeing safer vehicles on the road that have more technology that help people avoid collisions, and also improving post-care crash so that we can give people the best possible crash recovery and best chance of surviving a crash. But then very critically focusing on infrastructure. When you improve lighting, when you improve lane markings, when you improve intersection design by adding turn lanes when it's appropriate, adding rumble strips on rural roads, all of these very cost-effective strategies have a significant impact, and we detail those in the report. There's a good federal report looking at safety countermeasures on roadways. And when state governments and also local governments have the resources to invest in them, the result is a significant improvement in driving safety.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what can individual communities in the Carolinas do right now to make roads safer as we wait for some of these larger infrastructure projects?
Well, certainly what we're seeing with local governments and state governments, certainly they look at the data, and when they see an intersection or a roadway that's having significant fatalities, they evaluate it and look for countermeasures to make it safer. But increasingly, states are also looking system-wide and trying to ensure that the entire system is as safe as possible. And really that is helping motorists so that they're not confused, that it's very clear, when there's major curves coming, making sure there's guardrails and a variety of these types of improvements. And so state and local governments are trying to look at it as a system, but of course you need the resources to make those improvements. But one of the challenges in the last 3 years is the inflation in highway construction costs is up by 54%. And so the dollars aren't going as far as they have in the past. And that's going to be a challenge, certainly in North Carolina, as the state looks into the future with a growing population, making sure that they are coming up with adequate resources for transportation investment. And also at the federal level, where the Federal Surface Transportation Program expires next fall. And so deliberations have begun at looking at federal investment in North Carolina's transportation system.
If you could leave our viewers with a message or a takeaway this morning, drivers, pedestrians, what is it, Rocky?
It is a realization that when we're behind the wheel, that we have to take far greater precautions. The number of fatalities, nearly 1,700 a year in North Carolina and 40,000 nationally, is really a crisis. And each of us are a part of that. And anyone, including bicyclists and pedestrians, all of us have to be cautious and make sure that we're paying attention and making good decisions, so that we all have a part to play in making sure that we see a significant reduction in this tremendous level of traffic crashes and fatalities across the country.
All right. If people want to see the full report, where shall we go?
They can go to our website, which is tripnet.org, and our safety report is front and center, and we encourage them to have a look at that.